Yeah, it looks much better.
Yeah. So little details like that.
What's up everyone, Alex Stivalletti from Detroit Speed. Today we're going to do another project update video, and this will probably be the last project update video of the year before we roll into 2021. It's been a couple weeks since we've done one over the holidays, so I'll flip the camera around, we'll walk you through the shop and let you know what we've been working on. What's up first, Matt?
Andy's Camaro. This is the one we're doing. It's got our full suspension. Josh has recently finished all the stuff in the rear of the car, did the exhaust, moved back up to the front here to work on some of the packaging stuff with the LT4.
Okay.
So, had to notch the frame rail for the alternator. So the problem with a lot of the supercharged engines, it pushes the accessory drive out and down a lot of times. So you're either modding a rail for the alternator or the AC compressor. So a couple of things. Obviously we raised the tunnel in this car. The customer liked the original console, so we modified inside of the compartment here basically to clear the added height of the tunnel. So you still get kind of the stock look. Spot for your phone. This would have been gauges from the factory. So Josh made this cubby hole so you can throw Tic Tacs, phone, chargers, whatever.
Tic Tacs.
Added a spot for the vintage air Pro Line controller there.
That's the 3-knob controller.
Yeah, the 3 knobs. So super easy to access, cleans up the dash. So ultimately what we'll do is we'll do similar to a C3 Corvette gauge layout. You'll have the 2 gauges stacked on top of 3 gauges, and then still a single DIN radio.
It won't be too much longer.
Here's some of the mods to the core support. A lot of times, you know, like here, opening up, getting a bigger surface area to expose the core of the radiator. A lot of times, you know, if you jam a massive radiator behind the core support and you're blocking part of the core, you're not using it to its full efficiency. So a lot of times we'll open this up, which you can see is done here, and has welded it back together.
Okay.
So like I said, mount the radiator, mount the charge cooler, all that's from CNR. So this will be wrapped up pretty quick.
Cool. Now we'll move over to the GTO.
We shaved the wipers on this car. It's headed to California, so never rains there. No need for wipers.
I mean, it rains, but it doesn't rain often.
Nah, it really doesn't. Yep.
It fits all the factory lines on the cowl. It's really cool. And like we mentioned in a previous episode, or if you watch our project updates, but all of the controls for the engine are mounted under there too.
And then kind of cool, you know, a lot of times we will run bulkheads and things of that nature for the wiring harnesses.
Right.
Whereas this one, being a factory style harness, this is actually a pass-through into the cowl here.
Oh, okay.
So you won't actually even see any bulkheads. The wires will just kind of disappear up into the cowl, and then all of the modules are laid out real nice inside of here. Modules and ECM, fuel pump controller.
That's cool. I didn't even know that there was a pass-through there. I thought that was just a block-off plate.
So
that's cool.
It's kind of a clean way to do it. It doesn't look like anything specifically, so you shouldn't realize it's there once the whole package is together.
This is a stainless steel tube for the vintage air unit, so that's just the water drain. So it passes through the floor and it'll just dump out underneath the car.
Yeah, we typically hardline all of those and put at least a couple of rigid mounts under the floorboard. That way, you know, with a rubber line, you risk it collapsing or dry rotting or something like that.
Yeah.
So mostly we just build a stainless line, and you know, it ends up being pretty permanent. It looks really nice when it's done.
On the Daytona, he said this one's not done yet. He still needs to trim it up a little bit, but passes through the firewall here, and then he actually has the vintage air unit mounted up into this car already. So that's where stainless line comes out of the unit, runs along the firewall, and then passes through. So we use vintage air on everything that comes into the shop.
Yep.
At least everything that gets AC, which is at this rate pretty much everything.
Yeah, I mean Gen 4 Magnums for everything other than the DSCZ has the cool little heater only unit.
Yep.
No AC in that car, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Fuel tank.
The fuel tank. We did a post about it because it is just incredible. I think it looks awesome. So this fuel tank back here was built from scratch.
Yep, Mark does pretty killer work. So a lot of it was either shaped in the Pull Max or bead roller. All the features in the bottom were bead rolled, and then the flanges, the sides and flanges here were Pull Max. So the nice thing about doing this is the way it seamed here at the edge, it makes it a lot stronger than if you were just to butt weld two corners together. So yeah, it turned out killer. The mounting is super nice. Ended up, I think it's 19.5 gallon capacity, so decent capacity for
1,000 horsepower. I mean, it's gonna drink it up pretty fast.
Yeah,
but
it depends how hard you're in it, but yeah. The other nice thing about building this tank is, if you look here, the goal was to leave space between the tank and the frame rail so that you can still fit your dual 3-inch exhaust along the tank. Because a lot of times we run into that issue with cars. If the tank is real tight, then you end up having to drop the exhaust down, and you typically don't want to see the tailpipes and stuff hanging out the back. We'll build the tailpipes later, because ultimately this thing will have a pretty big carbon diffuser under the back. So we're going to wait till we have all the rear end parts finished before he finishes out the tailpipes here.
okay.
Once the wing parts show up, and really even too, the fenders in the hood look pretty crazy. We've been getting more of the cab models, updates on that stuff, so it's coming along good.
And I don't think we ever showed any of that.
We showed the renderings, not any of the cab models.
That is true, yeah.
So,
But we'll keep that a secret. We'll let them find out as we find out. All right, so we've transitioned over to the assembly side of the shop. And here we have Chris's 1966 Mustang that's in the assembly phase right now.
we're putting the car together for the last time. In the last couple of weeks, big stuff got done. Got the full interior dynamatted, buttoned up all the suspension stuff for the last time. Got the car kind of sitting close to ride height. We started working on some of the dash assembly. Basically, at this point too, you kind of landing a lot of the major components, and especially electrical components, so we can start wiring it.
Right.
So the ECM's in it, headlight switch, wiper switch, ignition, running battery cables now. The main goal currently is basically anything that we have to finish in the interior compartment here needs to happen, because we plan on shipping it to upholstery in January. So front end sheet metal, we'll probably wait till it comes back. It's nice being able to work on the car and not have to worry about scratching the fenders and stuff like that.
Right.
So we'll probably leave some of that stuff off as long as possible. We did get the rear end most of the way together here, which it looks killer.
Yeah, it's amazing. We originally had that flush mount filler cap. And that was actually near and dear to your heart. That came off of a KTM motorcycle. But we made a change back here. Now it has the traditional 4GT gas cap. But
Yep.
I love it. I really think it ties everything together.
Something that helps us is the tail panel. We had recessed it for the other filler. So anybody's familiar with Mustangs, these things from
They
the
stick
factory,
way out.
yeah, they stick
Yeah.
out. They're kind of clunky. They hit the tail panel. So this is an adapter we made, or I made. Just basically adapts our filler to this cap. So you end up with it actually setting into the tail panel about 3/8 of an inch. So it gives it an overall cleaner look than original, but still true to original. So
Yeah, it looks much better.
yeah. So little details like that make the car nice.
Yeah, and even just the gaps between the bumper and
Yeah,
that being cut up and flush mounted.
This whole tail panel it turned out super nice. The bumper's awesome. A feature that people probably may not notice if they're not familiar with these cars. So originally, this quarter extension, it carried this body line all the way down to the edge, which once you meet the bumper, it looks kind of funny. So in fab, we actually hammered this out, heated it up and hammered it out and made it die off, so that you end up with a better smooth transition. Just down
Yeah, so
into
it's
the
not,
bumper.
you have this harsh body line now, it just kind of disappears.
Yeah.
I never even noticed that. That's really cool.
So, again, small things that people don't necessarily pick up on, but it really helps the overall look of the car, just tidying all this type of stuff up.
This is the chassis for John's 1969 C10.
Yeah, so this was at the point, we've got a bunch of the powder coated parts back, chassis, axle, got the bumpers back from chrome, and then the guys in the body shop have been spraying a bunch of blue this week, so this thing is really, really close to being ready for assembly. And actually a bunch of the parts are upstairs we can check out. a bunch of the already finished satin blue parts. It looks really killer in person.
This is actually my first time seeing this. I had seen the inner fenders, which are this color, but will now be being painted black. So this is called Spectra Blue. You're definitely right about different shades and different lighting, because if you hit it on a different angle, it looks really, really dark.
Yeah, at night it'll probably honestly look straight up black.
I think we only really have one more project to talk about that's gotten some progress recently, so let's check out the Riviera. I made a quick pit stop over at one of our sales guys, Fox Bodies. This is Keith's LX hatch. We're doing some suspension install on it this week too, so stay tuned for more Fox Body stuff. What are we looking at here, Matt?
This is the chassis for the Riviera we've been working on.
That Riviera over there.
Yep, that's the one. So again, parts back from powder coat and paint. A lot of the suspension components are all painted on this. So the body shop got those knocked out so Josh could start assembly on the chassis. It's really nice at this point to run all your hard lines before you get the body on. So basically we could build this entire chassis all the way up to the engine and transmission before we'll actually set the body on here. So it gives you a good head start, not having to work around the body itself.
Those hard lines amaze me every time I see them.
Oh yeah, Josh is the best plumbing guy we have here, hands down.
That's incredible.
And he actually enjoys doing it. So a lot of times how it works, like in the shop, you know, guys trade out jobs on cars. So Josh always gets to barter his plumbing work
exactly,
in exchange for some other type of work.
Yeah, because he's so good at it. And I mean, especially if you love doing it, I mean, that makes it that much more enjoyable. But that is a lot. I mean, there's 6 lines going to and coming off of the ABS module there. And
Yep.
man, just to package all of that, and even the fuel side too, the stainless fuel line over there. And I mean, there's a lot of real estate too, because the Riviera is not a small car.
No, not at all.
So that's a ton of hard line. And like I said, here's the fuel line ran as well.
And then one of those lines too is actually the line for the J-Ride. Hydraulics.
Yep, for the hydraulics.
So yeah, between the ABS and the J-Ride stuff, there's a lot of hard lines on this car.
See, I know previously we had mentioned what was going on this car just through social media. I don't think we've actually had a project update where this car was actually involved. At least one of these vlog style project updates. So if you're new to the channel, these are JRI shocks, J-Ride coilovers. It's a hydraulic coilover shock.
Yep. So there's a piston inside this assembly right here, and so you got your normal coilover ride height set, and then you can actually control hydraulically this piston to raise and lower the car.
Yeah.
Without changing the actual preload on the nut there.
So this is one of those things where you can park it up at a car show and just dump all of it out and lay this thing down on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can do pretty much whatever. Get to a spot coming in out of a parking lot,
raise it up,
or something like that. If you need a little bit extra clearance, then that's where that comes in.
Modern exotic cars like Lamborghinis and McLarens, they use a similar system in the front. So if you're coming up on a speed bump, push a button and roll over without having to worry about anything. And of course,
got the carbon ZR1 brakes.
And these things, they are so incredibly light. It's amazing. So yeah, they'll continue assembly on this one. Like Matt said, most of the suspension stuff's all painted or powder coated. So just a matter of getting it all together. Before we end this video, we made a trip into the paint booth because there's some more parts in here for John's C10. So you can see it in a different light. This is the wheel tub that goes in the bed of the truck.
So basically doing the whole truck in a satin clear coat like this, it provides an extra degree of difficulty for the painters here because, this finished out of the gun, it is what it is. There's no going back. So if you get trash or dirt or anything in the paint, there's no wet sanding and buffing this.
Right, yeah, this is it.
So got to be extra careful. So really, they've done an awesome job so far. Everything they've turned out has been this nice, right out of the gun. it's ready to go.
And I think we can probably wrap up there. I think we've just about covered everything that we're working on right now. Like I mentioned, this will most likely be the final project update you guys will see this year. So we'll see you again in 2021. We'll keep rocking into these projects, and we hope you guys have a great holiday and a happy new year. So thank you guys.
Yep. Later.